For a long time, scientists believed they clearly understood how early humans developed hunting weapons. According to this traditional idea, human technology improved step by step in a straight and simple order. First, early humans used handheld spears, which required hunters to get very close to animals. Later, they invented spear throwers, which allowed them to throw spears farther and with more force. Finally, much later in history, humans created bows and arrows, which allowed hunting from long distances with greater accuracy. This neat sequence seemed logical, and it was taught for many decades as fact. However, new scientific research is now challenging this long-held belief. A recent study suggests that early modern humans in Europe may have already been using bows and arrows as early as 40,000 years ago. This is far earlier than scientists once believed. If this conclusion is correct, it means that human technological development was not simple or linear. Instead of one weapon replacing another, early humans may have used several different hunting technologies at the same time. This discovery is important because it changes how we understand early humans. It shows that they were not slow or simple thinkers. Instead, they were intelligent, creative, and highly adaptable. They experimented with tools, learned from experience, and adjusted their methods depending on their environment and needs. This new view paints a richer and more realistic picture of our ancient ancestors. The humans discussed in this research belong to the species known as Homo sapiens, which includes all modern humans today. These early humans lived during a period called the early Upper Paleolithic, which lasted roughly from 40,000 to 35,000 years ago in Europe and nearby regions. During this time, humans were spreading into new territories and adapting to different climates and landscapes. Life during the Upper Paleolithic was difficult and demanding. Humans lived in small groups and depended heavily on hunting animals for survival. Meat provided food, skins were used for clothing, bones were turned into tools, and fat was an important source of energy. Hunting was not just a skill but a necessity. A failed hunt could mean hunger or even death for the group. Because of this, early humans were constantly looking for better and safer ways to hunt. Early humans were not only hunters but also planners and teachers. Hunting large animals required cooperation, communication, and shared knowledge. People had to understand animal behavior, track movements, and work together during the hunt. Tools were carefully made and passed down through generations. This shows that technology was closely connected to social life and culture. For many years, archaeologists believed that bows and arrows were a very late invention in Europe. This belief existed mainly because bows are made of materials that do not survive well over long periods of time. Wood, plant fibers, and animal sinew decay quickly when buried in the ground. After thousands of years, these materials usually disappear completely. As a result, archaeologists almost never find ancient bows. In contrast, materials like stone, bone, and antler survive much longer. Because of this, archaeologists often find only the tips of weapons, known as projectile points. These tips were attached to wooden shafts, but the shafts themselves usually rot away. This makes it difficult to know how a weapon was actually used. The earliest clear evidence of bows and arrows in Europe came from very well-preserved sites in Germany and Sweden, dated to around 12,000 to 8,500 years ago. Because no older bows had been found, scientists assumed that bows did not exist earlier in Europe. However, the absence of preserved bows does not prove that bows were not used. It only means that they did not survive long enough to be discovered. The new research was published in December 2025 in the scientific journal iScience. The study was led by researchers from the University of Tübingen, along with scientists from other institutions. Instead of searching for bows themselves, the researchers focused on projectile points, which are far more commonly found at archaeological sites. Projectile points are sharp tips made from stone, bone, or antler. Early humans carefully shaped these points and attached them to wooden shafts using natural glues and bindings made from plant fibers or animal sinew. Once attached, the point and shaft together formed a hunting weapon. These weapons could be handheld spears, spear thrower darts, or arrows. Different weapons place different kinds of stress on projectile points. A handheld spear is pushed into an animal with steady force. A spear thrower dart strikes faster and with more energy. An arrow fired from a bow travels at very high speed but has less weight. Because of these differences, projectile points used in different ways break and wear down in different patterns. To study these patterns, the researchers used a method called experimental archaeology. This approach involves recreating ancient tools and testing them under controlled conditions. The scientists made accurate copies of ancient bone and antler projectile points. They then attached these points to spears, spear thrower darts, and arrows. Next, the researchers used these weapons in realistic hunting experiments. They fired or thrust the weapons into animal carcasses, or specially designed targets that mimic animal tissue. After each test, the projectile points were carefully examined using microscopes and measuring tools. The researchers looked for cracks, fractures, tiny chips, and surface damage. These marks are known as use-wear patterns. Use-wear patterns act like fingerprints that record how a tool was used. By comparing the damage on ancient projectile points with the damage on experimentally used replicas, scientists can make educated conclusions about how ancient tools were used. The results of these experiments were surprising. Some of the ancient projectile points showed damage patterns that closely matched those produced by arrows fired from bows. These points were thin, lightweight, and shaped in a way that made them suitable for arrows. The breakage patterns showed signs of high-speed impact rather than slow thrusting or medium-speed throwing. These findings suggest that some early humans were using bows and arrows much earlier than previously believed. The projectile points studied came from well-known archaeological sites such as Vogelherd Cave in Germany, Isturitz in France, and Manut Cave in Israel. These sites are associated with the Aurignacian culture, which existed between 40,000 and 33,000 years ago. This means that bow and arrow technology may have been present in Europe tens of thousands of years earlier than once thought. It also suggests that early humans were experimenting with different hunting tools at the same time, rather than following a strict order of invention. This discovery changes how scientists think about human technological evolution. Instead of imagining a straight line of progress from simple to complex tools, researchers now see a more flexible and creative process. Early humans may have used spears, spear throwers, and bows side by side, choosing the best tool for each situation. For example, a spear might be useful in close-range hunting or group attacks on large animals. A spear thrower might be effective for medium-distance hunting. A bow could be ideal for long-distance shots or hunting smaller, faster animals. Having multiple tools would give hunters more options and increase their chances of success. Evidence from Africa supports this new understanding. Archaeologists have found signs of bow and arrow use in Africa dating back about 54,000 years. This shows that bow technology existed earlier than once believed and may have spread gradually or been invented independently in different regions. The researchers are careful not to make extreme claims. They do not say that all early humans used bows or that bows replaced other weapons. Instead, they argue that early humans had a diverse set of tools and strategies. Technology was shaped by environment, resources, and cultural knowledge. Studying ancient weapons is extremely challenging because most materials do not survive over long periods of time. Scientists must rely on indirect evidence and careful experimentation. Even then, it is impossible to account for every variable. Despite these challenges, this research provides valuable insight into early human life. This study shows that early humans were not primitive or unsophisticated. They were skilled toolmakers, careful observers, and strategic thinkers. They understood materials, physics, and animal behavior. They shared knowledge, taught skills, and adapted to new environments. In conclusion, this research suggests that early modern humans in Europe may have been using bows and arrows as early as 40,000 years ago. By studying bone and antler projectile points and comparing them with experimental data, scientists have shown that some of these tools were likely used as arrows. This discovery reshapes our understanding of human history. It shows that innovation was complex, flexible, and creative. Early humans used a wide range of tools to survive and thrive. Most importantly, it reminds us that human intelligence and ingenuity have deep roots, reaching far back into our ancient past.